and 2 million British people have signed the petition against digital ID. We will not be turned into a barcode that can be cancelled at a moment's notice.
Katie Hopkins slams Keir Starmer's digital ID plan. This changes everything. You're not going to believe what just happened. Katie Hopkins has just gone off again, and this time, her target is Prime Minister Keir Starmer's proposed digital ID plan. Now, if you followed British politics over the past few months, you know this digital ID idea has been quietly making its way through political circles, presented as a modern solution to fraud, immigration control, and social security management. But Hopkins, she's having none of it. In a fiery new video that's already been viewed hundreds of thousands of times, Hopkins didn't hold back. She called Starmer's proposal a government overreach disguised as convenience, and said the plan could become a surveillance system in everything but name. And just like that, the entire internet exploded. The digital ID plan is meant to create a single online identity for citizens, combining things like driver's licenses, NHS records, and even access to public benefits into one secure, verified system. Supporters say it's about efficiency. They argue it'll cut down on fraud, streamline immigration records, and make it easier for citizens to interact with government services. But critics like Katie Hopkins say it's something else entirely. In her words, once the government knows everything about you, where you go, what you spend, what you post, you don't have freedom, you have permission. That one line hit a nerve. It's been shared by thousands of users, echoed in comment sections and debate panels across the country. What's fascinating here is that Hopkins' criticism taps into something much larger than just this single policy. It's about trust, or rather, the loss of it. Britons are asking, who really controls the data? Who gets to decide what's private and what's public? And perhaps most importantly, what happens if that power is abused? Even people who normally disagree with Hopkins found themselves nodding along. One comment under her video read, "I don't usually agree with Katie, but she's right, this feels like a step too far." Another said, "If this is about safety, why does it sound like surveillance?" The debate has gone beyond politics. It's become a cultural conversation about freedom, privacy, and the kind of country people want to live in. Now, let's be clear, Starmer's government insists that this plan is nothing sinister. A spokesperson for the Home Office told the BBC, "Digital ID is about modernization, not monitoring. The goal is to reduce red tape and improve security, not to infringe on anyone's rights." But the timing couldn't be worse. In an era where public trust in government tech projects is already shaky from data leaks to questionable contracts during the pandemic, the idea of centralizing even more personal data has made many people uneasy. And when you add a voice like Katie Hopkins to the mix, you've got a political firestorm waiting to happen. Hopkins also took aim at what she called the creeping normalization of control. She compared the digital ID rollout to other small policies that seemed harmless at first but later expanded into something much bigger, like contact tracing apps during the pandemic, or the push toward cashless transactions in city centers. In her words, "They always start small. They say it's optional. They say it's for your safety. But once it's in, it never comes out." That line, dramatic as it sounds, has struck a chord with a growing section of the public who feel government decisions are becoming increasingly top-down, with less and less transparency. Interestingly, this isn't the first time digital ID has been proposed in the UK. Back in 2006, under Tony Blair's Labour government, a national ID card system was introduced, but it was scrapped just a few years later after massive public backlash over privacy and data protection concerns. So when Hopkins says, "We've been here before," she's not entirely wrong. The difference now is the technology. Today, your identity isn't just a card in your wallet, it's a network of online records, digital footprints, and behavioral patterns. And that's what makes people nervous. Political commentators are weighing in too. Broadcaster Julia Hartley-Brewer called the plan a slippery slope, warning that it could open the door to social credit-style systems like those seen in parts of Asia. Meanwhile, others argue that the outrage is misplaced. Tech policy analyst Carl Miller said, "The UK's digital ID would be far from a surveillance tool. It could actually empower citizens by giving them control over what data they share." And that's the tension right there, control. The government says you'll control your data. Critics say they will. And in between those two narratives lies a massive question about power in the digital age. Now, Katie Hopkins isn't known for being measured. She's blunt, emotional, sometimes reckless with her words, but that's exactly why people listen. Because where others tiptoe, she stomps. And in this case, whether you agree with her or not, she spotlighted an issue that could define Britain's next decade, the trade-off between convenience and freedom. Hopkins ended her video with one final jab, a line that's now trending everywhere. You can call it digital ID. I call it digital control. Reactions online have been wild. Some users are tagging MPs, demanding a parliamentary debate before the bill progresses further. Others are calling for an official referendum on digital ID, saying it's too big of a change to be decided behind closed doors. Even a few Labour supporters are showing signs of discomfort. One longtime voter wrote on X, formerly Twitter, "I voted for Starmer, but I didn't vote for this. We're not numbers on a screen." And that's the core of it. People want to feel human, not managed. As of now, Downing Street hasn't directly addressed Hopkins' comments, but make no mistake, they've seen them. And the backlash they've sparked is likely to force the government to clarify or even adjust parts of the proposal. So where does this go next? If the government digs in, expect more public resistance, more protests, more viral clips, more fiery debates. If they pull back or rebrand the idea, it might cool things down for now, but the distrust will linger. Because at this point, the digital ID debate has become about far more than technology. It's about trust, power, and how much control people are willing to hand over in the name of progress. And that's why Katie Hopkins' latest outburst, no matter how loud, no matter how controversial, may end up being one of the most important political flashpoints of the year. Because beneath the outrage, she's asking a question everyone should be thinking about. If the government can track everything, what's left that's truly yours? And maybe that's the question that'll echo long after the headlines fade.